Cinderella. Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, lived a beautiful and kind-hearted girl. When she was just a small child, her beloved mother fell gravely ill. On her deathbed, she called her daughter close and whispered, "My dear child, always be good and true, and goodness will find its way back to you." With those final words, she closed her eyes forever. The girl's father was a wealthy merchant who traveled often for his business. It wasn't long before he decided to marry again. His new wife came with 2 daughters of her own. They were beautiful on the outside, but their hearts were cold and cruel. From the moment they moved in, they were terribly mean to their new stepsister. They snatched away her lovely dresses and fine shoes, forcing her into old ragged clothes. They made her do all the work around the house, from scrubbing the floors to cooking the meals. She was no longer allowed to sleep in her own comfortable bed. Instead, she had to rest on the cold stone hearth by the fireplace, because she was always covered in soot and ashes from the fire. Her stepsisters mockingly called her Cinderella. Despite the hardship, Cinderella remembered her mother's words. She did every task without a single complaint, her heart remaining as kind and true as ever. One day, her father prepared for another long journey. He asked his 3 daughters what gifts he should bring back for them. The 2 stepsisters immediately demanded the most expensive dresses and the most sparkling jewels they could imagine. But when her father asked Cinderella what she wanted, she simply replied, "Father, please bring me the first twig that brushes against your hat on your journey home." The father was puzzled by this humble request, but he promised on his way back, as he rode his horse through a thick forest, a hazel twig bent down and knocked his hat. He remembered his promise to Cinderella, broke off the small branch, and put it in his saddlebag. When he arrived home, he gave the fine clothes and jewels to his stepdaughters. Then he gave the simple hazel twig to Cinderella. She was overjoyed. She took the twig to her mother's grave, planted it in the soft earth, and began to cry. Her tears watered the tiny branch, and as she wept, it miraculously grew into a beautiful hazel tree. From that day on, Cinderella visited the grave every day, and every day she found a little white bird perched in the branches of the hazel tree. It seemed to understand her sadness and her hopes. Whenever Cinderella made a wish under the tree, the little bird would magically grant it for her. Time passed, and the 3 sisters grew into young women. One day, a grand announcement came from the palace. The king was hosting a magnificent festival that would last for 3 whole days. All the eligible young ladies in the kingdom were invited, as the prince himself was searching for a bride. The 2 stepsisters were ecstatic. They spent days planning their outfits and practicing their dances. Cinderella, of course, was also invited, but her stepmother forbade her from going. "You can't possibly go to the ball," she sneered. "Look at you. You have nothing but rags to wear." Cinderella's heart ached, but she did as she was told. She helped her stepsisters brush their hair until it shone and fastened their beautiful gowns, all while silent tears streamed down her own cheeks. After they had all departed for the palace, leaving her behind in the dusty kitchen, Cinderella ran to her mother's grave. She sat beneath the hazel tree and called out to her little friend, the white bird. She wished for a gown of gold and silver and shoes to match. In an instant, a breathtakingly beautiful dress shimmered down from the branches, along with a pair of delicate, sparkling slippers. Cinderella quickly changed out of her rags, and her transformation was astonishing. She hurried to the ball. When she entered the grand ballroom, a hush fell over the crowd. No one recognized the dusty servant girl. The prince was completely captivated by her beauty and grace. He couldn't take his eyes off her and asked her for a dance. They danced together for the entire evening. As the night drew to a close, the prince offered to escort her home, but Cinderella, not wanting her secret revealed, slipped away into the night before he could learn her name. The next evening, the same thing happened. Cinderella went to the hazel tree and wished for an even more beautiful dress. The bird granted her wish, and she returned to the ball. Once again, the prince was waiting. He danced only with her, falling more and more in love with the mysterious maiden, and once again, as the final dance ended, she vanished without a trace. On the third and final night of the festival, Cinderella went to the hazel tree one last time. This time, the little bird sent down the most magnificent gown she had ever seen, woven with starlight, and a pair of shoes made of pure, solid gold. She was a vision of loveliness. At the ball, she and the prince danced as if they were the only two people in the world. This time, the prince was determined not to let her escape. He had devised a clever plan and ordered the palace stairs to be coated with sticky pitch. As Cinderella fled down the grand staircase at midnight, her left golden shoe became stuck. She had no time to retrieve it and had to leave it behind. The prince found the delicate golden shoe on the stairs. He held it up and made a royal proclamation to the entire kingdom. "I will search for the maiden whose foot this shoe fits. Whoever she may be, she will become my wife." The prince and his royal guards traveled from house to house, searching for the owner of the shoe. Many girls tried it on, their hearts filled with hope, but the shoe fit none of them. When they arrived at Cinderella's home, the two evil stepsisters were desperate to make the shoe fit. One had a toe that was too long, and the other had a heel that was too wide. No matter how much they pushed and squeezed, their feet were simply too big. Then the prince noticed a quiet girl standing in the shadows. "Is there anyone else in this house?" he asked. The stepmother scoffed, saying it was only the dirty servant girl, not worthy of the prince's time. But the prince insisted. Shyly, Cinderella came forward. Her stepmother sneered, but the prince kindly offered her the shoe. "May I try it on?" she asked in a soft voice. She sat down, slipped her foot in, and to everyone's utter astonishment, the golden shoe fit her perfectly, as if it were made just for her. At that moment, the prince looked closely at her face and recognized the beautiful maiden from the ball. He took her by the hand, helped her onto his horse, and rode with her back to his castle. Soon after, Cinderella and the prince were married in a grand ceremony. They ruled the kingdom with kindness and fairness, and they lived happily ever after. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more classic fairy tales. We'll see you in the next one.